Welcome to the Dumb Idea Podcast Show with Mike and Alex. We thank you for joining us as we have a couple of beers and a cigar and talk about what's going on in our lives. Grab an adult beverage and a smoke and settle in with us. Please like, subscribe, and comment on each show so we can hear whether you agree or disagree with our take on things. Listen wherever your favorite podcasts are and at www.dumbideapodcast.com.
So I installed a toilet this weekend, and this toilet was a long story. I've done toilets before, and toilets themselves are pretty easy. The hardest part about doing it generally is just going to Home Depot or wherever you get it and dragging up the steps and getting the old one out. But the reason I did this toilet is because I had a leak, and after cutting numerous holes in walls to try to find the leak, I came to the determination that it was the toilet. And not to bore anyone with details, but how this toilet was leaking was one of the bolts that held the tank to the base actually rusted out, and then the water was dripping and then going down and coming through the kitchen ceiling. So there's also a hole down there, which is awesome. Which leads me to the three things that I hate the most in any project, which are plumbing, drywall, and painting. Plumbing always equals drywall, unless you get lucky and it's in your basement or at an access point, but I don't have any of those. So, so now I have to do two walls of drywall. Well, I have it open. I might as well replace the old PEX piping that's in there and the toilet, which is such an easy job. Now, the other thing that gets me thinking and talking about this is the fact that why didn't I just pay someone to do this?
Right.
And why do I do this to myself all of the time? And mainly it comes down to me being cheap. Right. It's when I see someone come in to my house to perform some job that I can do, I think it's a little bit of machismo as well, where I don't want to feel like less of a man, like, oh, I can handle this, which I can. Mm-hmm. Most of the time I have the tools, but in the end, is it worth it? And that's what kind of begs the question, DIY versus pay someone.
Right. Do you ever notice when you do pay someone, when a plumber comes or electrician, you always try and get that common ground with them. Like, yeah. I'm just like you, man. Yeah. And he's like, no, dude.
You're nothing like me.
You're nothing like me.
Right. It would be like, I'm just like Max Scherzer. Right. As in, I have thrown a baseball before. That's where the similarity stops.
Or you're like, hey, I could do this too. No, you can't. I know why you called me. It's fine, dude. Don't worry.
And my wife wanted it. She's like, just call someone. I'm like, nope. My boss at work, he's like, dude, time to go to the bullpen. I was like, nope. I took a day off from work to fix this thing, and I couldn't find the leak. And that's what was, and it was weird because it was intermittent. It would come and go.
Right.
Well, a leak from a water supply line, it doesn't come and go. It goes when you turn the water main off. And I did that, and it didn't stop. So you're thinking, well, it's got to be something that has a reservoir of water. But finding that thing and determining where it was from turned out to be a 3-week affair. So.
Honestly, when it comes to plumbing, none of those thoughts go through my head other than how quickly can I call the plumber? There's two things I'll never do, plumbing and electric. And the reason why electric, I can kill myself. Plumbing, I can do a lot more damage than's already being done right now.
And possibly kill yourself. So
I don't know. Can I drown? I mean, I can't really drown.
You could slip and break your neck. The plumbing could mix with the electrical maybe and kill you that way.
That's possible. All right. I see. I see your point.
Yeah. So I've done electrical too. I had it was the right before Thanksgiving. We had just gotten a new stove, and whenever the stove would have more than one, either burner, any combination of two burners, a burner and an oven, it would blow a fuse. I'm like, this is not really blow a fuse, but it would throw the breaker down in the basement, and it was driving me nuts. So I was hosting Thanksgiving that year, which means that I was going to be using everything on the stove. Now, I don't like turkey, so I kind of use this as think about using this as an excuse to not eat turkey. Be like, oh, we get a bucket of chicken. We can do Chinese. We can do pizza, all of which I prefer to turkey. But I think that would have irritated all of the other people in my family.
Sure.
There would have been 2 happy people, me and my 2-year-old at the time. Would have been thrilled.
Live to fight another day.
Right. Pick your battles.
Yeah.
So I determined, well, maybe it's a breaker. So I went on YouTube, which is a great resource for any home improvement DIY type project.
Absolutely.
And start researching. And breakers are, they're mechanical items. And what happens when they expand and contract, which creates wear, which in this case, the breaker wore out. So I had to replace it. So I YouTube this thing and I do it. Now, the guy I watched do it, he's like, I've been an electrician for 35 years. I'm not going to shut the main off, but you shut the main off. I'm like, shut the main off.
Right.
So, but it worked out for me because I ended up spending, I think it was like $12.89 on the double breaker because it was for the range. And the only tool I needed was a flathead screwdriver. So having done that, it just clicks into place.
Sure.
And having done that, like, that's a win for me. This toilet, not so much a win.
So I guess it would come down to how many hours did it take you to fix the toilet, the leak, and all the subsequent damage from the leak?
So we're looking at, let's talk about finding the leak first. If we want to do a strict, accurate accounting of time spent.
Let's do that.
So let's figure I'm probably at close to 20 hours on this thing now.
Oh my God.
From looking up in the ceiling with the flashlight, I just can't figure out where this is coming from. Because it was weird, because sometimes it would be just dripping, and then other times it would go away. And I should have thought, well, I knew it was something having to do with the toilet. I was thinking wax ring seal. But a wax ring seal, you should see the water in the toilet go down.
Right.
So it wasn't, and then depending on what was in the toilet, you should see some of that too. So I kind of had it pegged as a freshwater leak. However, in cutting my walls open, I found another slow leak, so I'm going to have to fix that too. So
what was the toilet the problem?
The toilet was a problem.
Okay, so that definitely had to be replaced, right?
Yeah, so the toilet's gone. Well, actually, it's not gone. It's on my back porch because I haven't had a chance to run to the dump. So the kids love it because there's a toilet on the back porch.
Sure.
Now, we just potty trained the baby, so hopefully he doesn't poop in it.
It may cause a whole other set of problems. I will say, so roughly, to get a toilet installed, with the toilet probably included, you're probably looking at $300.
Right. I spent $100. And just the toilet.
And right. So
let's ignore the other stuff.
So I was going to say, let's add the other stuff in. So let's say toilet install in the toilet, you're probably looking at $250, $300 plus probably, I'm going to say another 2 hours of labor, $100 an hour, so $200. So for $550 or so to get all of your plumbing issues done, your toilet done, everything's done, is $550 worth 20 hours of your time.
Right now? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Right,
and I'm sticking to it.
Right.
I'm going to die on this hill. So.
For me, emergency situations, especially like with water issues or whatever, like I had a sump issue, right? My sump pump wouldn't stop running for no reason whatsoever. I mean, it was 3 years old, 4 years old. That's about how long they last. I didn't want it to keep on running. So I could have gone to Home Depot, picked up $100 sump, and try to figure out how to install it myself. Probably not too hard, but I don't exactly have all the tools that I probably need to do this. It cost me about $400.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was out here within like 3 hours.
Yeah. And you could just sit on your ass and do nothing.
I did nothing. Right. All I did was cut a check.
Yeah.
For me, the amount of hours it would have taken me to research how to do the job, never mind go to Home Depot, buy the pump, it probably saved me about 5 hours, 6 hours of my life. It cost me about, I think it was like $400.
Right.
So Is my time worth 70, 80 bucks an hour? That's probably around the right amount.
Well, see, you also haven't factored in screwing it up.
Right. And then have to do it again.
Now, plumbing trips for me will equal, so let's throw in the cost of a 30-pack of beer. And let's also throw in the cost of about 14 trips to Home Depot.
Right.
Because my house has this plumbing in it. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. It's this gray PEX piping. It is the devil himself created this stuff. It is. There was actually a class action lawsuit regarding it. I missed the boat on that one. I bought the house after the period to file for it had expired. Don't know why the previous owners didn't do so. But yeah, I missed the boat on that one. So I'm gradually going to repipe my house with PVC as time goes on. And I think now that I have 2 walls open in my house, I'm going to end up just doing it. Because it's open, I might as well do it.
Right. You haven't even factored in the cost to repatchwork your walls.
Someone might be getting hired to do that one. Because drywall is, especially overhead drywall, which is where the leak in the kitchen came through, it's just awful.
It sucks.
Working over your head sucks.
Yeah.
No matter what height you're at, it's just an awful. I mean, I changed fluorescent light bulbs in my basement, and like I hate doing that.
Yep.
Because it's just over your head. Your muscles fatigue quickly, and it's just now. I will do an overhead press all day with heavy weight, no problem. But guess what? I'm not holding up there trying to manipulate little tiny pieces of thing and sand and. Now you're sanding, mudding, and the dust is coming in your face. No, thank you.
Right.
I will pay someone to do that.
There are professionals that do it in 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I think we're definitely going to pay someone. I think my wife is going to force the issue on that one because she doesn't want to hear all the swearing. Now the boys they're thrilled. They can't wait to do drywall with Daddy, which should make it take at least 3 times longer than it should.
Absolutely. The mud is fun to play with, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's all cool. And the thing is, like, house stuff, and I've done a lot of repairs. I replaced a garbage disposal and a sink. I did. I had a leak in my hot water heater and the intake pipe. I had to replace the valve. I've done a whole bunch of other little plumbing repairs. The toilet wasn't the first toilet I've done. They're actually pretty easy. I mean, it's you disconnect the water, flush it. 2 bolts on the floor, pick it up, dump the water out into the bathtub, and then, like I said, the hardest part's getting the toilet out again. Yeah. But we did the one. Now, the only thing I'm upset about is that everything's now high efficiency. So now I've road tested this toilet, and it can handle what I'm putting down. But, that's
until it doesn't.
Right.
And then you're going to curse the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to wish I had my environmentally unfriendly toilet that used 8 gallons of flush.
Is the 0.4 of a gallon saved? Really saving the bay?
Yeah,
water gets recycled anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
They're filtering out your poo. Like the water that you're showering with probably came from your toilet.
Yeah.
Just saying, it comes back to your house.
The water you just cooked your spaghetti with.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you boiled it.
Right.
But the house stuff really... Because house stuff always deals with wood and measuring and cutting, and you want it to look nice. My favorite DIY stuff is cars. And I will Google, as long as it's just turning wrenches, I will do it myself first. I'm going to be putting brakes on my wife's car here shortly, and I ordered the parts, and that's just turning wrenches.
Right.
That's easy. Now, when we start getting into vacuum and electrical work.
Once we get into the engine bay, I'm a little bit more hesitant. Mm-hmm. Brakes, fine. Rotors, fine. Those are like 3-4 screws or whatever.
The hardest part about that's lifting the car up and taking the wheel off.
Yeah. But anything like a catalytic converter, getting way under the car, and I don't necessarily fit under the cars.
Yeah, I don't like being under cars either.
It kind of creeps me out.
Yeah. I have a feeling that they're going to find my corpse there, crushed under a car.
Right. It's going to be like what was it from The Wizard of Oz when the witch, all you see is your feet hanging out of the house? Yeah, that's going to be me. I do feel like I'm more adventurous with the car than I will be with my house. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, a car is still expensive to replace, but I feel like a mechanic can probably fix whatever I've done wrong to it. Whereas with a house, if you screw something up, it can lead to a lot worse damage.
Oh yeah, and the thing with the car is, you can, especially if you're just turning wrenches,
Yeah.
you can put it back together again.
Right.
If you're doing brakes, you're looking at your caliper bolts and then your caliper bracket bolts. Just don't let the caliper hang by the brake line. You're pretty much good.
Yeah.
And then if you think you're getting in over your head, put it all back together again and drive it to the shop.
I also think with cars, there's always the cost benefit, right? So with brakes, you're looking at almost $350 to $500 an axle, depending on what kind of car you got.
Mm-hmm.
So a brake job can cost you anywhere from $600 to $1,000 for both axles.
Yeah.
All right. I can get a full set of rotors and pads off of one of those auto websites.
Mm-hmm.
$150 for a name brand set of brake pads and rotors.
Yeah.
With ventilated rotors in the front. And then, call over a buddy or two.
Yeah.
Mostly, probably one.
And mainly it's just for company.
Right. Or, to be honest with you, maybe I'll just sit back, let them do it, and bring a case of beer and say, here you go.
Yeah.
Barter, the whole barter system, right? Or I'll do it myself. Either way. But when you're talking about like fan belts, serpentine belts, or replacing an AC compressor, generally the cost is, even when the labor is so low for what you would have to do, like for belts and stuff, if you had to take out like a part of the radiator or something, where a mechanic with a lift can do it without doing any of that.
Oh yeah,
they can just swap it in, swap it out. They're done in an hour. You get charged 80 to $100 for the hour of labor, and you get a $3 part for $103 for something that would take me probably 3 to 4 hours to do because I don't have the proper equipment or tools to do.
Yeah.
All right. Game on, mechanic man.
And then some of the things with these new cars, the engine bays are so cramped.
Oh, yeah.
That even with the tools, I remember I used to have an 04 Ford Taurus. May it rest in peace. That car, I needed I went to Jiffy Lube for an oil change. And they're like, hey, you need a new fan belt or a new serpentine belt. Normally I wouldn't do it there, but I was like, you know what? I'm here. And I fell in for the trap. I think we talked about this in one of the previous episodes.
Right.
Where,
the upsell.
Yeah. Like, hey, you need a fan belt. It's like, and I knew I did. It wasn't the nonsense where hey, your flux capacitor needs to be replaced.
Right.
I heard it squeal and I knew I needed it. So I was like, you know what? I'm here. Just do it. So they change the oil in the car. They pull it out of the bay to do it. And I'm watching a guy who does this with all the special tools, take forever to do this. And I'm standing there watching because and I think at the time I smoked, so I'm smoking a cigarette. And I'm watching this guy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad he's doing it, not me. Right. And it was worth the ridiculous fee they charged me to do it. But you know what? It wasn't me doing it out there swearing and having to get this tool. Like there was this crazy long wrench with, so that they could pull back the idler pulley or the pretensioner to get into it. And so that to me was worth it. But like brakes, I've done brakes so much that it's almost like if I take the wheel off, I should just do the brakes because they're right there. I don't get intimidated by it anymore. I've done them enough where I feel confident in doing them. The hub bearings I used to have an old GMC Envoy. I did hub bearings on that, which apparently they're notorious for failing on those early 2000s GMC trucks, Silverado on down. But I changed those out. It was easy, non-factor. But it's one of those where, again, if I had the proper equipment to do it, would take me a lot less time.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with the home repairs. The guy with the plumber with his truck has the 8 or 10 lengths of the pecs of the PVC piping. He can fix your job in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
he goes, he cuts it, does it, done. Like I had a copper saddle line replaced, or a saddle connection replaced. It took this guy from start to finish under an hour to replace an entire line.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that would have taken me probably 5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes a project.
And I would have been wet.
Yeah.
This dude, under an hour dry, all said and done, I think it was $250. Dude, yeah, I can't get my money quicker.
Yeah.
You know?
And when I do it, whenever I do any sort of plumbing, there's always that, like, you know, almost that cross your fingers moment. You turn everything back on. You're like, please don't have water going
yep.
all over the place. And I've done some. I'll never forget my kids. They broke the water supply line for the ice maker, the refrigerator. Oh. I was in a different room of the house, and all of a sudden I heard water running. I said, turn the water off. And it's silence. And I'm like, boys, turn the water off. And I hear footsteps and then more silence. What are they doing? So I go out and I just turn around the kitchen. And I see just this like fountain of water just spraying. I was like, some expletives came out. I ran downstairs and killed the main. And they had ended up, somehow they were just goofing. They're being boys. And they broke it. And, oh, you little sweet cherub.
Right. You angelic children, you.
So I was like, all right, boys. Now, my wife was working at a restaurant at the time. And she was, that was her shift. So I said, all right, let's load them up. Go into the hardware store.
Yep.
And, they had a kit for it. So it was relatively easy to fix. But, still, my first thought is, all right, how am I going to fix this? I think a lot of this stuff is just born out of being frugal and not want to spend the money. And at the time when that happened, we didn't have a lot of money to spend either. So it was like out of necessity that I started learning how to do this stuff. And now I'm like, yeah, well, I'll just keep doing it.
I think that also comes with age.
Yeah.
As you get older, your tolerance for BS goes way down.
Oh yeah.
So like when something breaks, you're like, I don't want to have, especially if it's something you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to YouTube this. I don't want to look at 5 different YouTube videos to find the easiest method to do this, or find something that I can finally understand with the right part numbers, with everything. It's got for me, if it's not my exact situation, I cannot put 2 and 2 together to get it to my situation.
Yeah, and that's what's nice about cars is that you can search YouTube, brake replacement 2017 Toyota Sienna.
Right.
And it'll come up, you'll get 1,000 hits because every Yahoo that's doing it just, let's put this on YouTube and see if we get anything. So the one I watched was two Rush dudes. The guy's like, hey bro, this good car. You got to replace brake.
Right.
But he's wearing a tracksuit and everything.
Right.
And he does it. I'm like, okay, cool. That's like every brake job I've ever done. So and it's the front, so it's not the rear where a lot of times you have the self-adjusting calipers in the back. So it was, that's a straightforward job that I've done before. I order the parts from Rock Auto as soon as they come in. I think it's $157 with shipping. I'll put it on. I might just do a pad slap because I think the rotors are fine. So that sort of thing I feel. Plus, I like cars.
Right.
And anyone who's listened to our podcast, a lot of our conversations.
We get around to cars at some point.
So cars are cicadas.
Right.
That's number 4. Ding, ding. But so, I like cars. So I'm mechanically inclined. So to do something with a car is definitely something I'm going to at least attempt to do. Now, I agree with you with the fact, like an AC compressor, you might have to do some, like there's pressure. The AC compressor is never located in a convenient spot.
Plus the Freon and all this other stuff.
Yeah, all that.
I don't want to deal with any of that.
Yeah, let's go to the shop.
Yeah, some light body, like a little panel on the body or something.
Yeah,
or not even a panel, but like a little piece off the body or inside. You can replace that. No big deal.
A headlight, taillight assembly.
Yeah, done. Yeah, easy to do. Yeah. In fact, it's not worth your time to take it to the mechanic and wait a day or two for them to get to it.
Right.
You can go. Literally you can go to AutoZone, look up your headlight number, pick out the number of the light you need, and it's usually a pop in, pop out.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a screwdriver. Maybe you don't.
Now, I did have my old Nissan Maxima, and that thing, so the headlight went out, and I got pulled over a couple times for it. And, I was driving my wife back and forth to work. I would drop her off. And I'm coming back. I get stopped by this officer on the way in. Hey, he lets me go, no problems, headlight. Coming back out, same officer, same place, stops me going the other direction. I'm like, dude, it's me. Like, did you just
Same guy, dude. Come on. How many Maximas did you see rolling around here?
Right. Like, I didn't have a chance between here and there in the 8 minutes that between I saw you. Anyway, he's just doing his thing. But so I said, I'll just replace it myself. Negative. The next time that car went in for service,
yeah,
it needs a headlight. To change that thing, you have to go in through the wheel well.
Yeah.
You actually have to remove the front wheel,
yeah,
remove the trim, and when you remove the plastic trim,
yep,
it never goes on the right way.
Of course not.
Those plastic Christmas trees.
Oy.
It's aluminum held together with plastic and springy. It's just a disaster. So I pretty much, that one I recognize my limitations and where I would lose my mind. And had I done it myself, that splash guard on the inside of the fender would have never gone back in again. Yeah. It would have gone out with the trash the next day. So
I got lucky when I had an old 2010 Buick Enclave, one of the big beefy kind of,
like the Traverse.
The Traverse twins, the Traverse Acadia Enclave. Back then they were.
I think Saturn had one too at one point.
The Outlook, yes, they did back in 08. I think it lasted 2 mile years before Saturn kind of went kaput. But anyway, to replace the fog light on the Buick, you couldn't get at it from the top because it's too far down. Because the front fascia on that thing is just really long.
It's probably like 4 feet high.
Yeah. So to get in, you've got to turn the wheel so it was on the driver's side. So I had to turn the wheel all the way to the right so I could get in. I got to undo the wheel well plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And being me, I'm like, I don't want to undo all these. So I undid like 4 of them.
Enough to get to it.
Pushed my fist through. I had one hand. I'm kind of going at it blind based on what the YouTube video showed me. I do the pinch and pull. And I was able with one hand to get the bulb out.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it out. And then I was like, I can't do that. How am I going to get one in? There's no way I can do this one-handed. So I undid like 3 more, pulled it even further back, and that's when I could get in with 2 hands, and I did it. But I'm like, it probably took me like 3 hours.
I would just not use the fog lights.
Well, here's the thing. In the state of Maryland, if you have fog lights,
they have to be functioning.
Yeah,
if there's a light on the vehicle, it has to work.
Right.
And at that point, it's like, I just won't turn them on at all.
Right. Right. And that was my original thought.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the headlight goes out. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So now I got to do them both anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I did them both. And then recently I bought a car, the Chevy Equinox, the 2021. We talked about that nonsense in another episode. The fact that I never buy new cars, but the used car prices were outrageous. So I ended up buying a new car because I needed one that could be towed behind an RV. All right. Come to find out, though, if you need to change the headlight on that thing, the front fascia has to come off.
Thanks, GM.
I'm like, you got it. You took the easiest thing to replace on a car
And made it awful.
Awful. Like, you used to be able to just like pinch and pull out the back of the headlight housing, take the light bulb out, put one in, put it back in, clicks in, done. Somehow GM made it that it now takes 3 hours to do because you have to take the fascia off.
They will find a way. Now, I remember when cars would have the square halogen headlight bulb, where it wasn't just the bulb, you replaced the entire lamp itself.
Right.
So the first car I ever owned was a Camaro. It had 4 of them, 2 regular, 2 high, and it was easy to replace it. You would just undo this bracket, pop it out, stick the new one in, big square bulb,
Right.
Like the size of like 2 iPhones together.
Sure.
Was how big this, and it was simple. It was easy.
Yeah.
But now everything's all HID headlamps or LED lights or is it LEDs? Maybe they'll last forever.
Maybe, but of course they want you now. Like they feel like, not that they feel, but it's like they're trying to force you to go to the dealership to get these changes done. Yeah. Like the stupid stuff that you used to be able to do on your own. Mm-hmm. The replacing the headlights, the replacement of a radio or something. Like you can't even replace radios anymore with what they're putting in.
Yeah.
It's
like, I used to do that stuff myself.
Yeah.
So I used to install so that whenever I bought a car, the first thing I do was I pull out the factory radio and replace it with a Clarion or Sony.
Everyone did. Yeah, that was like the thing to do.
Yeah, Crutchfield. Everyone got the Crutchfield catalog.
Yeah.
It's huge. You get your, and then you look at the subwoofers and all. The thing is, the factory systems now are so good you don't have to.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and then it's all integrated with the infotainment system.
Right.
So,
the cones on the speakers used to be paper.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if are they still paper. If they're paper now, they're much better paper. But
yeah,
I think they switched to plastic maybe a little bit.
The Camaro had 4x9s in the back, and they sat in the B pillar. So you have to remove trim, and then there were these big speakers, and replace those, and then you had other speakers up in the dash, and they were I think they were they were the oval shaped speakers.
Yeah.
And then you put amplifiers in and all this other stuff. Well, the cars now they have it.
Right.
And the bass is good. You don't need to go and put subwoofers and all that stuff. And somehow Crutchfield sent me a catalog just randomly, and they've completely switched away from car audio.
Yeah.
It's all home entertainment stuff now.
I still flip through it though.
Yeah.
I used to love that catalog.
Oh,
I wouldn't be in the market to buy any of it.
Yeah.
But I just used to love seeing what the new thing was coming out.
Oh yeah, remember the Chameleon was the because they had the detachable face, but the Chameleon just went dark,
Did anyone detach the detachable face?
So I had one when I went to college in York.
Yeah.
And it was like I'd only been there for a couple months, and my car got broken into, and they stole my subwoofers, my amp. In that Camaro, I had the custom box that fit in the trunk well.
Yeah.
But
did they ever just take the face off the radio? Like, or if you didn't have the face on it, did it stop them from taking the radio?
The radio is worthless without the face.
Right, so couldn't they put one on? Like if they had one. Like
as far as I understood it, that they were matched.
Oh.
So it wouldn't. You couldn't just get and no one would sell you just the face.
That's interesting.
So that was the whole security thing behind it, and so after that, I would always take the face off my radio, and it came with a little case.
Right.
You'd hold it,
It's like an eyeglass case.
I mean, that dates us. Like we're '90s kids, 90s, early 2000s.
Right.
Back when the world was great, but it was
except for all the wars and stuff.
Yeah.
Back then I didn't know about them.
Right.
That's why it was great.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh well, if this college thing doesn't work out, I'm going to go. So
I never said that.
Yeah, I was all about it.
I was like, there's no shot the Army would want me. I'm too much of a smart ass for any drill sergeant to want to even deal with me. Like, go over that hill. Nah, I don't think so, man. I don't know. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, but I ended up doing a lot of that stuff myself. The only thing I never did was drum brakes. Drum brakes, it's like taking a clock apart. I'm not messing with drums.
I've never seen them on a car. I've never seen them on a car that I've owned. I've seen them on other cars. I wouldn't touch it.
So let's see, my first Camaro had them. My second one had discs. I'm trying to think. So I just sold. My mother passed away several years ago, and I cleared her estate up, and I sold. She had a 2012 Ford Escape, and it had drums on it still.
Really? I'm surprised they still have them with drums.
Yep, it had drums.
Recent.
Yep, and the thing is, drum brakes actually they are more efficient, and they actually they last a lot longer.
So it's probably a nightmare to assemble and put on a car though versus a disc brake.
Oh, they're very complicated because you have shoes, and then rather than one caliper pressing, you've got something like inside of it that expands outward, so that's how it creates the friction. But I never mess. You need special tools to handle them, and I looked at it. I've YouTubed it, and I thought, you know what? Oh, my '04 Taurus had drums on it too.
Wow.
Yeah, but
because I think my 90 My 95 did not. My 95 show had discs.
Well, it was an SHO. That's why.
I just like bringing that into the conversation that I had a show.
Well, it's awesome.
I love that car, and I wish I never got rid of it.
Yeah.
But there are no good examples of those out there anymore. And the ones that are, people have kept them and collected them.
Oh, you'll find, well, you won't find beaters anymore.
No.
But you'll find like if you look at like cars and bids, you'll see them on there. If you look at some of the different, cool Craigslist cars, like every now and then one pops up there. But the thing is, people are selling for like $20,000. Like
so the last one I saw, there was a guy that lives 20 minutes south of us, and he had a midnight blue or dark blue, whatever the blue was back then, and it was a show with a 5-speed manual, and it was in nice shape.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think he wanted like $10,000. I think it had 80,000 miles on it, and I'm like, I really, really want this car, and I'm just like, it's just not practical. I can't. I don't need a third car right now. I can't pay cash on a $10,000 car because on a car under $10,000, it's hard to get a loan for it, especially if it's that old.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have the cash to pay for it, but I was like, I know I'm never gonna see this car again. I'm never gonna see one this clean.
No.
And in this good a shape again. And it's sold probably within like 3 weeks of being put on Craigslist, and I have not seen one since. The only ones I do see though, the tourist shows are the frog lamp ones that had the V8.
Yeah, that's not a real one.
To me, no. I want the older. First of all, the frog lamp headlamp style is the grossest thing on earth. Yeah, it looks awful.
The oval Taurus.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 04 I had was the generation after that, but the V8 like. So that was a small V8. It was still a front wheel drive car.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the original SHOs were they were that was a Yamaha engine.
Yep.
And that it would spin to like stupid fit. It was based on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It was essentially a big like they took their motorcycle technology, made it bigger.
Yep.
And it was just a cool car.
So it didn't have a lot of horsepower. Like I think it had like 200 horsepower, 205. But it ran faster than, or I shouldn't say it ran faster. I think it went to 60 in like 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds or something like that. But it felt fast when you were in it.
Yeah.
And it was super comfortable.
Yeah, but the thing was, back in the mid-90s, 8 seconds 0 to 60 time was...
That was probably fast. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was still coming out of the oil embargo.
Yeah.
So, they weren't putting high horsepower cars in there, out there anymore.
Yeah. Plus, RoboCop had one.
Yeah. So. I just happened to luck into one. That it just happened to be a $5,000 beater at the time that I found. But this was also back... this was right around 2001. Yeah, I got it in 2000, but kept it to 2001, 2002. So it was only like 5-6 years old at the time, and nobody knew what. I mean, not that nobody knew what it was, but they weren't collectible yet.
Yeah.
So there were a few out there, and if you found one, it was still relatively affordable.
Yeah,
so I could get it for like $5,000, and it's still all right.
Yeah, it was like buying a third-gen Camaro. Like you could find those anywhere.
Yeah.
And or the Fox body Mustangs.
Yeah.
They were all over the place. And you go to any high school parking lot, and there was full of them.
Yeah.
Because they were cheap. Kids could buy them. Now it's getting hard to find third-gen Camaros anywhere.
Yeah.
The fourth gens, they weren't as iconic as the third gens, but
most of them are in junkyards.
Yeah.
Because the bodies just deteriorated. The engine will last forever, though.
Right.
Is that one of the LS engines or the LT engines?
It's 5.7, yeah.
Back then, this is one thing a lot of people don't realize. They just panned GM's quality, but the quality issues were on the interior back then. The engines and transmissions were mostly fine.
Oh, yeah.
Until the only time GM got in trouble with the engines was with the North Stars.
Yep.
And where they were blowing head gaskets, and they mostly fixed that, I think, in the mid 2000s, like 03, 04, 05, 06. I don't know exactly which one, but in that 03 to 06 range is when they finally fixed it with the head. They made the head bolts long enough.
Yeah.
And so it fixed it, but by then the engine's reputation was done.
Yeah. I think Hoovy did one.
I don't know if there was another guy on YouTube that did one, But yeah, if Hoovy did one, I want to go watch that just because it's interesting.
I know Doug DeMuro did one too.
Doug annoys the shit out of me.
I love him. Sometimes the way he enunciates things.
That's what it's the way he talks.
Yeah,
something about it just drives me a little nuts.
But Cars and Bids is doing really well with him. Like,
is it though?
I
mean, he's selling cars, but I wonder if it's got enough volume to make him any money.
All right, I think his YouTube channel makes him enough money.
Well, that's true too. He's a millionaire. He's got 2 of them, by the way. His first one got so big. I think you can only get so big, and so they start second channels.
Yeah.
To kind of, because essentially what happens is now you get 2 channels with 1 million subscribers, or you can go from do the slow crawl from like 1 to 2 million.
Yeah.
But if you start a second channel, almost a 50 to 60% of your subscribers on one channel will immediately go to the second channel, and that's how you're making. And now you got a second channel monetized.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a fun YouTube fact for all you people out there. But as far as like those old GM cars though, you could definitely do a lot of work yourself.
Super easy to work on.
Yeah.
And especially the way the older cars were designed, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with like the transverse mounted engine. Transverse mounted engine, you don't have a lot of room, you know, on the. I think the Taurus, all the accessory, the front of the engine was on the right side.
Yeah.
And you just didn't have a lot of space to get in there and do things, especially when when Chrysler started doing the cab forward, they're trying to maximize the
Don't get me started on that. The spaceship design.
Yeah.
The Intrepid, the Concorde. What were the other ones? The Sebring eventually, I think, was the other one.
They all, even the caravans, the vans were all cab forward. And the thing is, like, okay, you do spark plugs. If you only want to do one bank of cylinders, because the other bank of cylinders is buried under the firewall.
Right.
And
that's all they did, right? They basically turned the engine sideways, so that way you could have a shorter deck lid on the front.
Yeah.
And that way it gave you more space for the cabin.
Yep.
And the cars would be the same length.
Yeah.
And yes, you did get more interior room. Like, my parents bought a Dodge Intrepid. That's how I know about this thing. The trunk was still a nice sized trunk, but you're right. The front hood was very short and it tapered off real quick in the front.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you if those cars held up at all, because I think my parents got rid of it fairly quickly.
You don't see a whole lot of them on the road.
You don't see any of them on the road.
Yeah. So
when was the last time you saw an Intrepid on the road?
Yeah, yeah, never.
Yeah. Or a Concorde.
It's been a long time. Some of them looked nice. Like the New Yorker. They did the New Yorker in cab forward.
No.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yep.
The New Yorker I remember looked more like the K car design.
Yeah, so they did that.
And that was super nice. My dad had one of those.
Yeah, so they had the New
Once
Yorker.
You got inside, it looked great.
Yeah.
Outside, it looked like garbage.
Yeah, so it was because they had the K car one, was similar to the what was it, the Plymouth Acclaim.
Yep.
It was like that, and then prior to that, it was like the old Dodge Diplomat. You know, but they had a New Yorker version of the cab forward.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did that. Eagle had one. It was the Vision. I believe. Yeah.
It might have been. I thought the Vision was smaller though, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, then they eventually dropped that.
But you weren't doing any work on any of those.
No,
those engines were crammed in there.
And a friend of mine had one, and he had to replace the water pump, but somehow it was like integrated into the block.
What?
It was
well, I told you about my Edge.
Mm-hmm.
The water pump is inside the engine.
Yeah,
like it's encased with the engine.
Yeah.
So if that water pump goes, you grenade your engine. So that's what they always say. If you have a Ford Edge, that 2012 to whatever, or an MKX with that 3.5 Duratec engine, or 3.7, both same design. If you get the overheating light, pull over immediedely. Mm-hmm. Do not drive. Get it towed, because if you drive it, it will. That's what grenades your engine, because the coolant will then leak in to everything, and you're done.
Like who thought of that?
Who knows? But that engine though is fairly reliable. That Duratec 3.5, 3.7 Duratec engine, it's fairly reliable.
Yeah.
They put it in a lot.
Yeah. Oh, they put him in the 3.7. Ended up in the ended up in the police interceptor.
Yep.
After they got rid of the Crown Vic and switched over to the Taurus, but yeah, it's just it's almost like they make stuff so that you can't do it. They make it intimidating. When you open up the hood, you see the sheet of plastic. You can't identify any of the parts of an engine. So, like, do you really want to get into it? And brakes, though, still look like brakes.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't really matter what you do to the brakes. Like, a rotor's a rotor. Right. You can identify the parts.
So it makes it appealing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
I recognize it. It's comforting. Yeah. It's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. You know. Just like your old friend.
Right.
The brakes that are grinding.
Right, yes.
And I'm at the point where, like, if I'm going to take the wheel off and take the caliper off, I might as well do 2 more bolts and do the rotor too. Well, yeah, I'm already there.
And to be honest with you, the cost of it, like I say, if you go to like Rock Auto or something, $150, you got 4 rotors and brake pads all around.
Yeah.
All right, and you're done in about an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's if you don't have. I mean, but if you got a hydraulic jack, an hour.
Yeah, and the worst part of doing it is if the rotor's rusted onto the hub.
Yeah.
You got to soak it in WD-40 and beat it with a mallet. And
rubber mallet, guys. Yeah. Rubber mallet. Don't do the metal mallet on your rotor. Although, I guess if it's an old rotor, who gives a crap?
Unless you have to put it back together and take it to a shop.
Right.
But they have the little holes in the hub so that you can put the screw in there that actually will pop it off.
Yeah.
So you'll see the big holes for the lugs. There'll be 2 additional holes. You put screws in there. That'll actually pop the rotor off of the hub if it's rusted on there.
So, interesting story about rotors on an Acura. So Acura, for whatever reason, you've got your normal lugs that can hold the rotor on, right? That should hold the rotor on just fine. After you have the wheel on, you put your lug nuts on, everything's fine. Acura, in their infinite wisdom, added an additional screw. And it's a very, very soft, I think it's a zinc metal. So if you've had these rotors on for, let's say 5 years, in this case it was 10. I tried to get it off, and the screwdriver I use, because it just used a flathead screwdriver to get this one screw off the rotor, it went through it.
Like, what does the screw do?
We don't know. I'm like, what could this screw do that the other 5 huge bolts and lug nuts aren't doing?
Tire on top of it, like
yeah. Right. There was nothing that this extra screw did, except make my life miserable, and that's what it did. And I tried an impact driver, everything, nothing got this thing out. So this was a scenario where I put everything back together,
drove it to a shop,
and I drove it to my mechanic, and I said, "Can you get this screw out?" Like I could do, and by that point I was like, "Here's the rotors and brake pads. Just finish the job."
Yeah, you're already here.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with this. And but it was like, I'm 3 hours in, and I can't get the rotor off because of this stupid screw.
Yeah, tap it out.
And I'm like, who? It's kind of like in Austin Powers when Oddjob throws a shoe. Who throws a shoe, man? And I'm like, who puts a screw here? What engineer thought this was a good idea or even needed?
Yeah. Because let's see, you've got the caliper bracket, the caliper and pads holding the rotor on. Then you put the wheel on. Then the lug nuts. That should all be pretty good.
This thing served no other purpose.
Like, if that screw's not there, if the wheel falls off, at least the screw's holding the rotor on. I think the wheel falling off is the bigger deal.
Well, the mechanic goes, because I guess the rotors were car specific. So he's like, "Do you want me to put the screw back in, or a new screw in?" I said, "Heck no."
Yeah. No.
I asked him for. I was like, "Is it needed?" No. Then no.
Yeah. No. F you and your screw.
Right.
Screw you and the screw.
Yeah. I don't care if it's going to be a screw I can get out later. I'm not putting it in now based on principle.
Right.
Right. Screw you, Acura, for doing this to all the mankind. I still like that TL though.
Yeah,
nice car.
I wonder, and as much as I like, getting back to the house stuff, like I hate doing drywall. I hate doing all of this stuff. I should probably live in a condo in the city because I hate yard work.
Right.
I don't like any of it.
Have a super.
Yeah. Like, hey, and it's like, people, own your home and it's, you're paying yourself and blah, 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 blah. When I rented an apartment, if I had a leak, I called the landlord and said, hey, there's water coming through my ceiling. You might want to fix that. Yep. Hey, your air conditioning's broken. I need a new air conditioner. Then they came and they fixed it. There was none of this, oh man, I got to spend $5,000 on an AC compressor or any of this other nonsense.
Shoot, when your whole AC system goes up and you pay $8,000 to fix that thing, you're not going to be happy you own a home at that point.
Right. Like,
you're going to be cursing it.
Now I have this new AC. Awesome. Like, no, it's not, because you don't get to see it. But I'll get a hair and I'll think, you know what? I'm going to redo the kitchen. Do we know?
I'm in that phase right now. My wife and I are talking about that right now. I'm like, oh no.
But the thing is, when you get these estimates and they come in and they show you all the stuff, and then I'm just like, I'm not listening to them. All I'm just seeing is dollar signs.
Yep.
I'm like, cha-ching, cha-ching. I'm just watching the thing. Oh, do you like the hardware for the cabinets? Don't care. What's it going to cost?
Right.
So if I demo this myself, how much money will I save? Because the demo part I'm down with. I got that on. It's putting it all back together. And you can see people that have done it, that have gone and they've redone their kitchens, and some people will DIY a great job. Others, it looks like they gave themselves a haircut. And you're like,
yeah. I'm not doing my own kitchen. I can't. There's no shot I'm doing that. Just because to be honest with you, I'm not even doing demo. I don't want to deal with any of it. I'm at the age now. I'm at my 40s. I'm like, even the thought of doing that is just like, no. I don't have weeks to put into this.
And it's funny because you see these movies where like the young couple, married couple, buys the house, and then they go and they redo the kitchen, and they're all covered in dust, and then they like passionately kiss and do whatever.
Right.
That's not where I am right now. I've got 3 screaming kids running around. They're hungry. Like, I don't want to traipse through a construction site. Oh, hey, the 3-year-old's running around with a drywall knife. Maybe we should take that away from him.
You want one of the shows that did that encourage people the most, and they're the absolute worst shows on TV. Not for watching; they're entertaining to watch. But the fact that they give people hope into thinking they can do this themselves are all those HGTV and Discovery Channel shows like Property Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, you can do this. Jonathan from Property Brothers did this whole thing in 2 weeks. Yeah, but you didn't see the 8-man crew he had in there. He didn't do any of that shit.
He did zero.
He did his 5 minutes on camera.
Right.
And he had the glasses on, and he's got the tool belt on, and he got the hammer in the hand.
Yeah.
And didn't do a damn thing.
Nothing.
But he's got you thinking, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this kitchen myself. Hey, look, I can do it in a half hour. He did it.
Yeah. They show some crate where they do. The thing is, like, they have a team of people come in and do this, and it just sets people up for false hope.
Yeah.
And failure. And, like, like yours is not going to look anything like that. It's almost like the Nailed It show. That's what they should really do.
Right.
They should do the Nailed It version of Home Improvement. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm doing my Nailed It. Nope.
No. It never, like, so I've got my, I had a leak as well. Although mine came from the overflow from my, my tub in my bathroom. Wife wanted to take a bath, went and took a bath, first time in this house. All of a sudden, 2-3 days later, we start seeing the water spots in the in the ceiling in the kitchen. I call the plumber right away. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to find this out.
Yeah.
And turns out we got everything taken care of, but the plumber does not do drywall. Mm-hmm. So he cut 2 holes in my ceiling, and when he left, I had 2 holes in my ceiling.
Yeah.
Now my plumbing problem was fixed, but I got 2 holes in my ceiling now.
Yeah.
I called the buddy. I was like, I really don't want to call. I don't even know who you call for carpentry work or drywall work. Called the buddy from up the road. Came over, did it. He's like, he screws the drywall in, muds like does the first 2 muddings, right? He goes, okay, just sand it down and paint it. It looked great. I sanded it down and painted it.
Doesn't look great.
Looks like crap. I was like, I probably should have hired a professional drywaller to come and finish this for me.
I hired a dude to do one of the leaks we had in the kitchen, and he did an awful job. It was awful. And, he was some dude that someone knew.
Oh, right.
And the guy would come over, like, he'd stop at the house on the way home from work and, like, mud and sand.
Gets off his IT job, which does nothing to do with
this guy
drywall.
was more of, like, a professional junkie. Like, I paid him some money up front, and he's like, hey, could I get, like, an advance on the job? And I was like,
that's a red flag right there.
Yeah, roger that. And so now, like, the drywall tape's coming out. Like, I can see exactly where he replaced it. And I'm like, look at this. And that's where I switch back to the DIY thing. Well, I could have done that.
I could do the garbage job.
Yeah. Like, I could F it up myself for free. I don't need to pay someone else to F it up for me. Yeah. And then some of the things like, the breaker. What's the electrician going to charge me to walk in the house and fix that? Like, just walk in the house. What are you looking at for them to come over?
$100 for an hour.
Yeah.
That'll cover your first hour.
Yeah. So that would have taken him about 8 minutes to repair. Because guess what? It took me about 8 minutes to fix.
Yeah.
So he's going to charge me $100 and then parts. And, of course, it's not going to be – he's going to get
a markup on that part.
Yeah. So rather than paying $12.98 for the new breaker,
paid $25.
Yeah.
So, but $125 though, you're done.
Yeah, but this was done.
Right.
I mean, this is if you could, you remember the old VCRs?
Yeah.
If you could put a tape in a VCR, you can do this.
Right.
Like, that's how easy this was. If you could pop the lid off of a can of paint, you could do this job. Like, that's how simple it was. And that's where I get back to, I figured it out. Now, guess what? That was kind of exploratory because I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And that could have not worked.
So there could have been like 4 or 5 hours, though, that you put into research, plus the trips to Home Depot. So, you could have been into it for 5-6 hours. He's into it for an hour and he's done.
Yeah, but I don't count sitting on the can watching YouTube videos as research.
Well, you never know. I could be on the can watching other videos that I find more enjoyable. But I had a handyman, professional handyman, legitimate guy. I had at this point like 3 years of items that had just built up that I needed done, and then my rear slider door had some wood warpage, wouldn't open.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I got to get a guy here to fix that. I might as well get the rest of this stuff done because it's not going to cost me all that much more money. So stupid stuff like rescreening the sliding screen door that goes to that door.
Yeah.
All right, well, how much are you going to charge me to rescreen that? $20? Done.
Yeah.
I need you to re-secure my back steps because they're sagging a little bit. How much do that? $100. Done. I mean, at the end of the day, I had like my garage door openers replaced, exterior lighting replaced. The steps were fixed. The door was fixed. The screen door got rescreened. I had a couple electrical outlets replaced. At the end of the day, I think I was in it for like $950.
Yeah.
Parts, labor, everything included. And that was the honeydew list that kept growing and growing and growing. And I just wasn't getting any of it done.
Yeah.
So eventually I just bit the bullet, paid someone. And I was like, and you want to know what? After it was done, it took him 3 days to do everything. I felt like it was the best money I ever spent because now I don't have that I don't have a list anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting a new list, of course, because the list never ends. No. But
yeah,
that list is gone, and it feels great.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, some of the stuff I like doing. I like doing stuff. I have a screen in the porch, and I wanted to add a door to it. So there's a door on one side, but not the other side where we keep the trash cans. So we were going to get the porch rescreened anyway, which I was paying someone to do. Like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So yeah, before they come, I'm going to add this door. So I cut a section of it out, and I added a door to it. Now that door, because the kids are running through it and slamming it, and the dog goes through there, and I need to replace the door. I can hang a door; that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But that was cool. Like we built, like me and a neighbor, we built the steps. We did the new door. Like it was an afternoon project. It was during COVID. So, like, when everyone was locked down. And I think a lot of people started doing things.
Sure, yeah.
Because they had time. They had...
You didn't want someone in your house.
Yeah.
Because
so, like,
who knew what they were bringing in.
Yeah. So we started doing it, and we had a fence installed. I had looked at doing that. I said, I'm not doing that.
But putting in fences is the worst. Because it's not building the fence. It's digging the holes.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks.
Now, these dudes came, the crew, they completely replaced our fence all the way around the yard in about 8 hours.
Yep.
The old and the other thing is, the nice thing about them is, so had I done that myself, I have to take the old fence down.
Right.
Now, I had taken a section of the old fence down because the neighbors next door put up a privacy fence. Well, now I'm like, well, why do I have a double fence?
Right.
So I took it down.
Yeah.
My wife was working, and I only had the youngest wasn't born yet, so I think the older two were like 5 and 2, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Nothing, Daddy. All right,
taking down a fence.
So we went out. We took a fence down, and I'm making them move wood like with nails and stuff. But they're out working with Daddy. They think it's great.
They think it's the best thing on earth.
But then I have this pile of wood I got to get rid of.
Right.
Which means I have to. I don't have a truck, so it means I load it into my wife's van.
Burn it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We should have had a bonfire.
Yeah.
That's what we should have done.
So I take all this wood out. That was a pain. That was only one side of the fence.
Yeah.
These guys come. They take the old fence down. They put the new fence up. They load all the old crap into the thing. That's why, like, for mattresses, hey, do you want to pick it up or deliver it? Deliver it, because I want you to take my old one out of here.
Right, yeah.
I don't want the old one here. I want that to go.
Yeah.
And, that's some of the convenience factor that comes into play.
That's a huge factor.
Like the drywall mess, like cleaning all that up. You pay someone.
Well, even like the toilet. Right now, you got a toilet on your back porch.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you hire a plumber, he takes it.
Yeah, super classy.
Yeah.
Toilet's great. Furniture.
But so a lot of it is, I mean, maybe it's not even that you're paying for. You're not paying for the work. You're paying for the convenience of him getting rid of your old crap.
Yeah, because they take it with you.
Yeah.
Now, I will have the fun of taking the toilet to the dump and having 3 boys. I'll bring them with me.
Do the toilet throw.
Oh, yeah.
And the strongman toilet throw.
So hopefully someone will have thrown away a TV or something that we can aim at with the... And this is, again, you've got the three little boys and then... me, the big boy idiot,
right.
Who's like, hey guys, check this out.
I'm going to destroy a TV with the toilet. Yeah.
And like, they're all like, yeah, Daddy, that's like, and that makes their day.
They're happy. Listen, I got 2 girls. They just love going to the dump.
Oh, the dump's the best place in the world.
I feel like I don't know why, but they love going to the dump. They love, what number are we going to get? Because when we went at the dump up there, they tell you like, okay, you're going to go to number 13.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we get number 13. That's great. And then like, okay, look over the edge. Now you see all the garbage. It's like, yes, it's great.
And then if they're lucky, they get the treat of that whatever excavator that comes and smushes it all down.
Well, the funny, if you take like little stuff that they can throw over, they think it's hysterical that they can just throw trash somewhere. Like they're so like they're so ingrained. Like they teach them like, okay, trash goes in the trash bin. Now you're saying, chuck it. Yeah. Where? Anywhere. The guy said anywhere over here. We can just throw it.
And it's like, wait, we have all kinds of trash at home that you could very easily dispose of.
Yeah.
But this is a special trip because we get to throw it all in the car and then take it to the dump.
And throw it over the wall.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can throw it? Just throw it.
Yeah.
Well, should I just put it on here and push it over? No, throw it.
Yeah, aim it. Try to aim. See that old computer monitor? Yeah. Try to hit that. Maybe it will explode. Yeah. And like, yay! So, I mean, that sort of stuff is you miss that when you pay someone to do it.
Sure, yeah. But I think 95% of the time I'm okay with missing that. I think it's like I'll take my sleep and my time back and pay some guy to do it. But
Yeah, when you burn a day of leaves, go to the dump.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's how you know you're old. You're burning a day of leaves, go to the dump.
although the guy at the dump, they have a guard at the dump,
Mm-hmm.
and he checks to make sure you're a resident, so you can use the county dump.
Oh, we have a sticker on our car.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a sticker. So when I got there, he's like, "Can I have your license and registration?" Like, I'm getting pulled over. Like,
Your papers, please.
yeah, like, I can understand the license. Like, if my license says I'm a county resident, but the registration for my car?
Yeah, what did you see that for?
Yeah,
You want my insurance card?
well, like, I don't understand. Like, so I, like, as a county resident that lives in this county, my driver's license says I live here. I can't bring anybody's car. Like, what if I'm using a buddy's truck?
Yeah.
Like, I can't bring that? Like, you're suspect. Yeah. I don't know if we're talking the same language here.
Yeah.
That was an awkward situation. But, so if you're out there and you're a DIYer like Mike is,
a poor one,
or someone who just doesn't have the time to deal with any of this garbage, or is too lazy like myself. I put myself more in the lazy category than the other category, but I hope whatever you're doing is working for you. And please like, subscribe, share, comment, rate this podcast, and we hope to see you on the next show.